My best friend chose his cheating ex over our brotherhood. She ruined his wedding and our business. So I took my revenge. Now he is in jail. I got the company and his girl. All right, Reddit, grab your snacks. You're about to hear how my best friend threw away his wedding, our business, and both our families, all for a cheating ex who nuked his life twice. This story's got everything: betrayal, business warfare, legal smackdowns, family feuds, and revenge that would make John Wick proud. And yeah, it's 100% real. Actually happened to me between 2020 and 2024, but things wrapped up last month. Changed names and some details for obvious reasons. Dudes say bros before hoes, but still can't believe Timothy chose the hoe. Anyways, here we are. Tim and I, 27 male, weren't just business partners. We were brothers from different mothers. Our families lived in the same suburb outside Cincinnati, house close enough that we could see each other's bedroom windows. Our moms were suburban besties who micromanaged every Christmas light string. When Tim's dad ran off with his 25-year-old secretary in 2017, Tim moved into our guest room. My folks didn't blink, just stocked Costco family packs and cleared garage space for his car. I still remember the night Tim's parents told him about the divorce. We were playing Call of Duty in my basement when his mom called crying. Tim went upstairs for like 2 hours, came back down with red eyes, and just said, "Dad's moving out next week." We played until 3 a.m. without talking about it once. At Ohio State, we pledged Sigma Chi together, lived in the same dorm freshman year, and had this unspoken understanding that we'd figure out adult life as a team. Tim was naturally creative, could come up with marketing campaigns that sounded insane until you saw them work. I was the spreadsheet guy who made sure we didn't blow our beer money on stupid shit. Senior year, spring 2019, we started seriously talking about launching something together. Digital marketing was exploding, and we figured we could help local businesses figure out Facebook ads and basic website stuff. Tim's marketing classes plus my business finance background seemed like the perfect combo. There were warning signs I should have caught earlier, though. Junior year, Tim was treasurer for our Sigma Chi pledge class. We raised $2,800 for a charity event, and somehow only $2,200 made it to the actual donation. When questioned, Tim claimed there were unexpected expenses for event planning, decorations, supplies, stuff that somehow didn't have receipts. "Dude, where'd the other 600 go?" our pledge master asked. "Marketing costs, flyers, social media promotion. I kept track of everything. It just adds up fast." Nobody pushed it because Tim was likable and we trusted him. Plus, $600 wasn't worth destroying friendships over. Both families were supportive too. My dad, who'd worked construction his whole life, put in $15,000 from his retirement savings. Tim's mom contributed $12,000 from her divorce settlement, money she could have used to fix her roof or get a newer car. This wasn't just our dream anymore, it was everyone's investment. We graduated in May 2019 and spent the summer working part-time jobs while setting up the LLC. I was doing bookkeeping for a local restaurant chain. Tim was working at Best Buy. Every night after work, we'd meet at Panera with our laptops and plan out Crawford and Associates digital marketing. Yeah, we used both our last names because we thought it sounded more professional. Pretty cheesy, but we were 22 and thought we were hot shit. We officially launched in September 2019 with our first client, Tony's Pizza, this local chain with 5 locations. Tim convinced the owner to let us handle their social media for $800 a month. Not exactly Fortune 500 money, but it was a start. Enter Tony Castellano, and this dude became way more important than just our first client. Tony was 58, built like a linebacker gone soft, with hands that could crush beer cans and a voice like he'd been chain smoking since the Carter administration. He'd built his pizza empire from nothing after getting laid off from Ford in '98. First meeting with Tony was at his original location on Hamilton Avenue. Place smelled like garlic and cigarettes, had checkered tablecloths that probably hadn't been changed since the Clinton years. And Tony's office was this cramped space behind the kitchen where he kept 3 different phones and a filing cabinet held together with duct tape. "You kids think you can sell pizza on the internet?" he asked, looking us over like we were trying to sell him swampland. "Mr. Castellano, 60% of your customers are under 40. They're all on Facebook and Instagram," Tim said. "Facebook's for grandmothers posting pictures of their cats." "Actually, sir, that's exactly why it works for restaurants. People post food photos, tag their friends, share experiences." I pulled out my laptop and showed him engagement metrics from similar businesses. Tony studied the numbers for 10 minutes without saying a word. Finally, "All right, I'll give you kids 6 months. But if my sales don't go up, you're out on your asses faster than last week's mozzarella. Within 3 months, Tony's weekend revenue jumped 23%. By Christmas, he was asking us to handle marketing for all 5 locations. But more importantly, Tony became this unofficial business mentor who'd call us into his office every few weeks. Listen, kids, business is like making pizza dough. You can't rush it, you gotta work it steady. And if you add the wrong ingredients, the whole thing turns to shit. That wisdom became crucial later when everything went sideways. By Christmas 2019, we had 4 clients and were each making about $1,200 a month, enough to split a cheap apartment on the west side and eat something besides ramen. We worked out of Tim's bedroom because we couldn't afford office space yet. 2020 was actually great for us business-wise. COVID hit and suddenly every small business needed help with online marketing since they couldn't rely on foot traffic. We went from 4 clients to 12 between March and July. Tony connected us with half of them through his network of restaurant owners and small business buddies. By the end of 2020, we were each pulling about $3,500 a month and finally felt like real business owners. That's when we met Grace at my cousin Jake's wedding in September 2021. She worked at United Way doing donor relations and knew everyone in the nonprofit world. Smart as hell, genuinely funny, and she got Tim's stupid sense of humor without being fake about it. Grace understood our partnership dynamic too. Never made Tim feel guilty about working late or spending time with me on weekends. Hell, she helped us land 3 new clients through her United Way connections. 2 law firms and a medical practice that needed website overhauls. Tony loved Grace immediately. "This one's a keeper," he told Tim once. "Smart, pretty, and she's not rolling her eyes at your marketing bullshit. Don't screw this up." By early 2022, we were doing well enough to rent actual office space. Had 8 employees, mostly part-time college kids doing content creation, and we were each making around $180,000 annually. Tim proposed to Grace on Valentine's Day at the conservatory downtown. The wedding was set for July 16th. Grace's parents were covering most of it, but Tim insisted on paying for the bar and the honeymoon to Mexico. They'd barely been planning for a month when Raven decided to crawl out of whatever hole she'd been hiding in. Raven Morrison. Even typing her name makes me want to punch something. She'd been Tim's girlfriend junior and senior year at OSU, 2017 to 2019, and she was textbook toxic from day one. Hot in that high-maintenance Instagram way, but the girl had a terrible personality. She had this habit of playfully flirting with other guys at parties while Tim watched. When he'd get upset, she'd flip it on him. "I was just being nice. God, why are you so insecure? Maybe if you weren't so jealous all the time, I wouldn't need attention from other people." I watched my confident, funny best friend turn into this paranoid mess who needed validation for everything. This is a guy who could close a $15,000 client deal without breaking a sweat, but he'd ask me to read his text to Raven before sending them. Does this sound too needy? Should I wait longer to respond? It was pathetic and infuriating to watch. I caught Raven cheating completely by accident in 2018. Was at her apartment near campus, helping Tim move his PlayStation when she left her MacBook open on the kitchen counter. Messages everywhere from at least 4 different guys, all thinking they were exclusive with her. The shit she wrote about Tim was brutal. Called him pathetic and too easy to manipulate. Bragged to her friends about how she had him completely whipped and could get him to do anything by threatening to break up. I screenshot everything and showed Tim that night in my dorm room. Took 3 days of denial and bargaining before he accepted the evidence. Raven's response when confronted was pure sociopath behavior. No apologies, just immediate nuclear warfare. Started telling people Tim was emotionally abusive and controlling. Painted me as the jealous friend who couldn't handle him having a girlfriend. Posted cryptic Instagram stories about toxic masculinity and manipulation disguised as friendship. She transferred to Miami University for spring semester 2019 after too many people at Ohio State University knew the truth. I genuinely thought that was the end of her bullshit forever. Then, March 8th, 2022, I remember the exact date because it was the day after Grace's bridal shower, she sent Tim a congratulations message on Instagram. "Saw the engagement announcement. So happy for you both. You deserve all the happiness in the world." Tim showed me the message that night while we were reviewing client reports. "Look, Raven reached out. That's mature of her, right? It's manipulation. She's testing the waters." Come on, that was 4 years ago. People grow up. Raven doesn't grow up. She just gets better at hiding her crazy. But the messages kept coming. Started with generic well wishes, then evolved into longer texts about how much she'd changed through therapy and personal growth. Classic love bombing bullshit, designed to make Tim feel special and chosen. I've been thinking about how creative and ambitious you were in college. I bet you're killing it in business now. You were always too good for most people at OSU. You deserved someone who could match your intelligence and vision. Tim ate that shit up like it was gospel truth. By early May, I noticed him checking his phone constantly during client meetings. The same distracted, anxious behavior from college. When I called him out on it, he got defensive. I'm just stressed about wedding planning. Grace has got me running around to cake tastings and venue tours every weekend. But I knew better. I'd seen this exact pattern before. Tony noticed it too during our monthly check-in at his office in mid-May. Your boy seems wound tighter than my ex-wife's wallet, he said. He came in here Tuesday looking like he hadn't slept in a week. Wedding stress looks different. This looks like guilt. Tony had an eye for reading people. If he sensed something off about Tim, there was definitely something off about Tim. The financial irregularities started Memorial Day weekend. Tim ordered $800 worth of productivity software we didn't need without running it by me. When I questioned it during our monthly budget review, he got snippy. It's project management tools. We need better systems if we're going to scale. Scale to what? We're already managing everything fine with what we have. I'm trying to be proactive here. You should be thanking me for thinking ahead. Then there were charges for business development consulting and strategic planning services from companies I'd never heard of. Our monthly expenses jumped from $4,200 to $6,800 between April and June, but he always had explanations. The breaking point came during our biggest client presentation of the year on June 7th. Premier Automotive Group, 4 dealerships looking to revamp their entire digital strategy. Contract worth $85,000 annually. Tim was mid-sentence explaining our social media strategy when his phone buzzed on the conference table. Instead of ignoring it like any professional would, he actually stopped talking and looked at the screen. Not just a glance, a full 3-second read that included a slight smile. Mr. Crawford? The client said. Oh, sorry, where was I? I had to jump in and finish the entire presentation. We got the contract, but barely, and only because I'd prepared backup slides anticipating Tim might screw up. After they left, I was done being diplomatic. What the hell was that? What was what? You stopped a pitch mid-sentence to read a text message. I didn't stop anything. You smiled, Tim. You read a message and smiled during an $85,000 presentation. Okay, so what? We got the client. That's not the point. You've been distracted for weeks, missing deadlines, ordering random shit, lying about working late. I haven't lied about anything. Really? Because I drove by the office at 10 p.m. last Thursday and it was completely dark. But you told me you were here until midnight working on the Henderson campaign. Tim's face went pale. I worked from Starbucks. Sometimes I need a change of scenery. The Starbucks that closes at 9 p.m.? There are 24-hour coffee shops downtown. Name one. This is ridiculous. Why are you interrogating me like I'm a criminal? Because you're acting sketchy as hell and it's affecting our business. That's when he said the thing that made my blood run cold. Maybe we need to restructure this partnership if you're not comfortable with how I operate. The way he said it like he'd been rehearsing, I knew he'd been planning something. That night, I called Tony from my apartment. Needed someone with business experience to tell me I wasn't going crazy. Kid, in my experience, when someone starts talking about restructuring a successful partnership, there's another woman or another opportunity involved. What should I do? Get yourself a good accountant and go through every expense. If he's planning to bail, he might be preparing to take more than his fair share. Tony was right. I just didn't know how right he was yet. Enter Mac, my college buddy who'd become a corporate fraud investigator for a big firm downtown. He's one of those guys who could spot bullshit from orbit and talked like he was permanently caffeinated. I'd mentioned Tim's weird behavior to Mac during a Reds game in early June, just venting about my business partner acting sketchy. His response was immediate. Dude, that's textbook pre-fraud behavior. I see it all the time. Excessive spending, lying about whereabouts, sudden interest in restructuring finances. You need to audit everything now. You think Tim's stealing from me? I think Tim's either stealing from you or planning to. Either way, you need documentation before he covers his tracks. He offered to help me run a quick forensic analysis of our business accounts. We met at his downtown office that Saturday, June 11th, with 3 years of bank statements and expense reports. Within 2 hours, Mac had identified every suspicious transaction and mapped them to a timeline. Your partner's been siphoning money through fake vendors for 8 months. Look at this pattern. Small amounts at first, getting bigger as he got more confident. Classic embezzlement progression. The evidence was undeniable. 12 fake companies, all registered to addresses that didn't exist or were just UPS stores. Total theft, $31,847. But Mac found something even more damning. Check this out. Tim Crawford Marketing Solutions, LLC, registered March 15th. Raven Morrison as vice president and 49% owner. Your boy's been planning his exit since the day his ex came back into the picture. Mac printed everything and organized it into a legal brief that would make prosecutors weep with joy. This is federal mail fraud if he used the postal service for any of this. Wire fraud if he used electronic transfers. Your boy's looking at serious prison time if you want to press charges. But first, I needed to confirm what I already suspected about Tim's late work sessions. I used Find My Friends to track Tim down on June 14th. Yeah, sounds psycho, but we'd set it up in 2020 for business emergencies and he'd forgotten to turn it off. 3 nights that week, his location showed the Hampton Inn and Suites downtown during his supposed late work sessions. Friday night, I decided to see what was really happening. Parked in the hotel garage at 8:30 p.m. and waited. Tim's Subaru was already there in a corner spot. At 8:47 p.m., a silver Honda Accord pulled up 3 spaces away. Raven freaking Morrison stepped out. Same long dark hair, same designer workout clothes she used to post on Instagram constantly. She walked into the hotel like she owned the place, confident as ever. I sat there for an hour and 15 minutes, getting angrier by the minute, before I went upstairs. Walked the halls on the 3rd floor until I heard familiar laughter coming from the ice machine area. Tim in a hotel bathrobe. Raven in his Ohio State t-shirt, the same one I'd helped him pack for business trips. Both of them all over each other like teenagers. I got my phone out and recorded for 20 seconds. Crystal clear footage of my business partner and best friend cheating on his fiancée 3 weeks before their wedding. Sent the video to Grace at 11:43 p.m. with just, "I'm sorry, you need to see this." She called at 6:15 a.m., sobbing. I confronted him when he got home. He said it wasn't what it looked like. He said you were jealous and trying to break us up. Grace ... But I saw the video. There's no explaining that away. How could he do this to us? To me? She'd already called off the wedding and returned the ring to Jared. 8 months of planning destroyed because Tim couldn't think with anything besides his dick. Sunday morning, June 19th, Tim showed up at my apartment complex, pounding on my door at 7 a.m. You freaking stalker! You followed me like some psycho ex-girlfriend. You were supposed to be working. My personal life is none of your business. Your affair with Raven isn't personal when it's destroying our business relationships. It's not an affair. Grace and I have been having problems for months. What problems? She was picking out centerpieces for your wedding. You wouldn't understand. You've never been in a serious relationship. You don't know what it's like to feel trapped. Raven makes you feel free? The same Raven who cheated on you with 3 guys simultaneously? She's different now. She went through therapy. She's not the same person who hurt me in college. You're right about one thing. You're not the same person either. The Tim I knew had integrity. The Tim you knew was miserable, always doing what everyone expects. Raven sees the real me. Raven sees a meal ticket, just like she did in college. Screw you. I'm dissolving our partnership. I'm done with you controlling my life. He left, slamming my door so hard it cracked the frame and woke up my neighbors. I called Mac immediately. He just threatened to dissolve the partnership. How fast can we move on the fraud evidence? I can have everything ready for your lawyer by tomorrow morning. Tim's lawyer, David from Taft Law, sent dissolution papers on June 28th. Tim wanted half of everything. Business assets, client contracts, our trademark, even the coffee machine in the office. Basically wanted to walk away with $200,000 and start competing against me immediately. That's when I hired Jennifer, the most ruthless business attorney my dad could find through his union connections. First thing she said was, "Let's audit every business expense from the last year." "Already done," I said, handing her Mac's forensic analysis. "My friend's a fraud investigator. This should save us some time." Jennifer spent an hour reviewing Mac's work, occasionally whistling or muttering holy shit under her breath. "Your friend does excellent work. This is prosecutor-level documentation. Mr. Crawford is completely screwed if we play this right." Our accountant, Maria, and I spent 3 days going through bank statements line by line, just to confirm everything Mac had found. What we discovered was exactly what Mac predicted. Systematic theft designed to fund Tim's exit strategy. 12 fake vendors over 8 months. Strategic Marketing Solutions, LLC, with an address that was a Starbucks on East Broad Street. Business Development Associates registered to a UPS store in Hilliard. Creative Consulting Group with a phone number that went straight to a disconnected voicemail. The number Mac found? Yeah, it held up. Every penny. Then there was the smoking gun Mac had found. Tim Crawford Marketing Solutions, LLC, registered on March 2022, 3 days after Raven's first Instagram message. Raven Morrison was listed as vice president and 49% owner. I called Tim that night at 11 p.m., hands shaking with rage. We need to talk about strategic marketing solutions. Long pause. What about it? It doesn't exist, Tim. The address is a Starbucks. I can explain. Can you? Because it looks like you've been stealing from our business to fund your exit strategy with Raven. I wasn't stealing. I was going to pay it back once my new company got established. With what money? You were planning to compete against me using clients we built together. How did you find... We weren't going to poach your clients directly. Raven's listed as VP, you moron. It's public record. Silence for 30 seconds. Look, I can pay it back. We don't need to make this a legal thing. $32,000 isn't a legal thing? Tim, you stole from our family's investment. My dad put his retirement money into this business. I know I screwed up, but I can fix it if you just give me time. Time for what? To steal more money while you plan your competing business? We weren't going to compete directly. It was going to be a different market focus. Then why hide it? Why the fake vendors and shell companies? He hung up on me. Jennifer didn't waste time. Lawsuit went out by mid-July. Breach of fiduciary duty, theft, fraud, and violation of our partnership agreement. We also got a temporary restraining order, preventing Tim from contacting any of our clients or employees. Mac helped Jennifer understand the technical aspects of the fraud, serving as our expert witness. His testimony during the deposition was brutal. Mr. Crawford established a systematic pattern of embezzlement using fictitious vendors to disguise fund transfers. This wasn't impulsive theft. This was premeditated financial fraud executed over 8 months with increasing sophistication. The settlement process took until September. Tim's lawyer took one look at the evidence and advised him to surrender immediately. Our partnership agreement was bulletproof. Any partner who stole from the company forfeited their ownership and became liable for damages. Final terms: Tim gave up his 50% stake in the business, agreed to pay back $31,847 over 24 months at 8% interest, signed a 5-year non-compete covering Hamilton County, and paid $12,000 in my legal fees. No criminal charges in exchange for full restitution. Raven got fired from her job at Kroger's corporate marketing team on August 15th when they discovered she'd been using company resources to work on Tim's business plan. They sued her for breach of contract and recovered $8,000 in damages. The business community's reaction was swift and merciless. Premier Automotive Group, our biggest client, sent a formal letter stating they would never work with Tim in any capacity and would inform other businesses in their network about his breach of professional ethics. Tony forwarded me screenshots of emails Tim had sent to 3 of his restaurant owner friends, trying to poach them as clients. Every single one replied with variations of "fuck off" and immediately forwarded the emails to me. Our insurance company dropped Tim from all future coverage after reviewing the fraud documentation. 2 local business organizations revoked his membership and put out informal warnings about his conduct. The Cincinnati Better Business Bureau flagged his name in their system after I filed a complaint. Most satisfying was watching his attempts to network at industry events get shut down in real time. Word spreads fast in Cincinnati's small business community. He'd approach someone at a Chamber of Commerce mixer and watch their face change the moment he introduced himself. "Oh, you're that Tim Crawford," became his unofficial introduction. But this was just the beginning of the real shit show. Tony's reaction when I told him about the settlement was perfect. "Kid, I've been screwed by business partners, ex-wives, and the IRS. But at least they had the balls to steal from me to my face. This backstabbing bullshit is for cowards who can't handle real confrontation. I can't believe I trusted him." You trusted the person he used to be. People change, usually for the worse when money and hoes get involved. The important thing is you caught him before he could really damage what you built. The family fallout. Was Nuclear Raven left Tim 2 weeks after the settlement was finalized? Shocking, I know. Apparently, dating a guy with no money, no job prospects, and massive legal debt wasn't as fun as she'd imagined. That's when Tim's family implosion really started. His mom, Diane, called my mom in tears. "Carol, I don't know what to do. Tim's living in my basement and he's angry all the time. He blames everyone but himself for what happened." My mom put her on speaker so my dad could hear. "He keeps saying your son manipulated the whole situation, that he was jealous and sabotaged his relationship with Grace." My dad lost his shit. "That boy stole from us, Diane. Stole from the money I put into their business." I know. Fred, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened to him. What happened is he chose pussy over family. Chose some cheating whore over people who loved him." The conversation lasted 2 hours. By the end, both families had agreed. No more joint holidays, no more family gatherings. 25 years of friendship destroyed because Tim couldn't keep it in his pants. But that wasn't all. Tim was desperate to get back with Grace. In December, he started showing up at Grace's work. She worked at United Way downtown, and he'd wait in the parking garage for her to leave. Security caught him on tape once, but let it slide when he claimed he was waiting for his girlfriend. Grace didn't want to escalate, yet. First few times, he just tried to talk to her. Grace, please, just 5 minutes. I can explain everything. There's nothing to explain, Tim. That was a mistake. I was confused, and Raven manipulated me. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Grace told me about these encounters when we started texting regularly. She was scared, but didn't want to overreact. Mac offered to help when I mentioned Tim's stalking behavior. I deal with corporate harassment cases all the time. This behavior pattern usually escalates. She needs documentation and a safety plan before he does something stupid. Mac was right, as usual. By February, Tim's behavior escalated. Started leaving notes on her car, sending long emails to her work account, even had flowers delivered to her office with cards begging for another chance. Grace finally agreed to meet him for coffee on February 14th. Yeah, Valentine's Day. Tim's timing was always shit, just to get him to stop harassing her. She recorded the whole conversation on her phone. Smart girl. You were planning a honeymoon with Raven while I was planning a life with you. There's a difference. That's over. She left me. You're the one I want. I'm not your backup plan, Tim. I'm not your consolation prize. That's when he grabbed her wrist across the table, hard enough to leave marks. You can't just throw away what we had. I love you. Grace pulled away and left immediately, filed for a restraining order the next day with the recording as evidence. Mac helped her navigate the legal process. The physical confrontation. Grace and I had been talking for weeks by this point, mostly about processing the betrayal and supporting each other through the legal stuff. In March 2023, we went on our first actual date, dinner at the precinct downtown. Someone must have seen us and told Tim, because he showed up at my apartment at midnight, drunk and furious. You freaking snake! You're dating my fiancé. Ex-fiancé. You need to leave, Tim. You planned this. You broke us up so you could have her. You always were eyeing her, you piece of shit. I didn't break you up. You did that when you screwed Raven. You followed me. You destroyed my life. You threw our brotherhood away for what? To get Grace? Funny how you put it that way. Brotherhood ended when you decided to betray your brother and choose a hoe over everything else. That's when he swung at me, caught me off guard, and clipped my jaw. Not hard enough to do real damage, but enough to piss me off. The fight lasted about 15 seconds before I had him pinned on my living room floor with a bloody nose. Get the hell out of my apartment. My neighbor called the cops after hearing us yelling. They showed up as Tim was leaving and took statements from both of us. I didn't press charges, but the incident report went on file. The family war continues. My parents were completely disgusted with Tim's behavior. Dad especially took it personally since he'd invested his retirement money. That boy was like a son to me. Lived in our house, ate at our table, and he repaid us by stealing and then attacking you. But Tim's mom, Diane, was in complete denial. Started calling my mom in April 2023, trying to mediate. Carol, maybe the kids can work this out. They were best friends for so long. Diane, your son stole from us. He's harassing Grace. He attacked my son in his own apartment. Tim says he was defending himself. Defending himself from what? A conversation? He's just hurt and angry. He made mistakes, but... Mistakes? Diane, he stole $30,000 and tried to compete against the business our families invested in. The calls got more frequent and desperate. Diane kept trying to minimize Tim's behavior and blame everyone else for the situation. Finally, my dad had enough, called Diane directly. Diane, I'm going to say this once. Your son is not welcome in our lives anymore. Not at holidays, not at family events, nowhere. He made his choices. Now we're making ours. Fred, please. He's like your own son. My own son wouldn't have stolen from me and attacked his best friend over a girl who left him anyway. Diane stopped calling after that, but the damage to both families was permanent. Tony had his own thoughts about the family drama during one of our monthly dinners. Betrayal's like food poisoning. It doesn't just hurt the person who caused it. It spreads to everyone around them. Your parents did the right thing cutting him off. Some mistakes you don't get to come back from. Grace and me, building something real. Meanwhile, Grace and I were taking things incredibly slow. Both of us had trust issues after Tim's betrayal, and we didn't want to rush into anything that might be rebound territory. Our relationship developed naturally over months of coffee meetups, long phone conversations, and gradually spending more time together. By summer 2023, it was obvious we had genuine feelings. Dating Grace felt completely different from watching Tim's toxic relationships. No drama, no games, no manipulation. Just two adults who'd been through hell and found something real on the other side. We made it official in August 2023, moved in together in April 2024. The irony isn't lost on me. Tim threw away the best relationship he'll ever have, and I ended up with the incredible woman he was too stupid to appreciate. Mac's take on our relationship was characteristically blunt. You two work because you're both rational adults who communicate like humans instead of playing psychological warfare games. It's refreshing to see people date without creating a freaking television drama every week. Tim's professional life never recovered. Word spread fast in Cincinnati's business community about the theft and restraining order. He went through a series of retail jobs, Target, Best Buy, GameStop, getting fired from each one for attitude problems or showing up drunk. Tony heard through his network that Tim had tried to start a food delivery service in late 2023. Kid shows up at my competitor's place on Reading Road, trying to convince him to switch from DoorDash to some bullshit app he's developing. Owner recognized the name and told him to get lost. Word spreads fast in this business about people you can't trust. In January 2024, Tim violated the restraining order by sending Grace a letter through her sister. The letter was 20 pages of rambling apologies mixed with accusations that I'd stolen his life. Grace immediately reported it to the police. He got arrested for violating the restraining order and spent 3 days in Hamilton County Jail before his mom posted bail. That's when Diane finally started to see who her son really was. Called my mom in February 2024. Maybe it's time to stop making excuses for him. I think I need to stop helping him. He's 30 years old and acting like a child. Diane cut off Tim's financial support. He got evicted from his apartment in Norwood and is now living in some fleabag motel on Reading Road. Mac tracked his downward spiral through public records and social media monitoring. Occupational hazard of being a fraud investigator. Your boy's credit score is in the toilet. He's got 3 active collection agencies after him, and his LinkedIn shows he's been freelance consulting since October. That's code for unemployed and desperate. The latest drama happened on July 2024. Last month, Tim showed up at our new house in Oakley. Grace and I had just bought the place and were moving in when he appeared on our doorstep at 9 p.m. I need to talk to both of you. You have a restraining order. You can't be here. I'm not here for her. I'm here for you. We used to be brothers. That was before you stole from me and attacked me. I was fucked up. I was grieving the loss of Raven and Grace, and I wasn't thinking straight. You weren't grieving. You were planning to compete against me with stolen money. That's not... Look, I've been sober for 6 months. I'm in therapy. I want to make amends. Great. Stay sober and leave us alone. I can pay you back faster if we can work together again. Are you insane? We were a good team. We built something real before everything went wrong. You made everything go wrong. I know I screwed up, but people deserve second chances. Some people do. You don't. He stood there for another 10 minutes trying to convince me to give him another shot. When I finally closed the door, he started yelling from the street. You stole my life! You turned everyone against me! I opened the door one last time and looked him dead in the eyes. I didn't steal your life, Tim. You threw it away. Then I shut the door and turned off the porch light. Grace called the police and they arrested him again for violating the restraining order. He's looking at 6 months in county jail this time, since it's his second violation. Here's where we stand now. Grace and I are in a great place. The business is thriving. Revenue hit $1.2 million this year, and I'm opening that Columbus location in January. We're looking at engagement rings and talking about starting a family. Tony's been like a surrogate father through this whole mess. When I told him about our engagement plans, his advice was perfect. Kid, you found a woman who stood by you through hell and helped you build something better. Don't overthink it. Just put a ring on her finger and start making babies before you're too old to teach them how to throw a football. Tim's mom, Diane, finally disowned him completely after the second restraining order violation. She sent my mom a text that just said, I'm sorry for everything. He's not my son anymore. As for Tim himself, he's in jail until December, then probably going back to motel living and retail jobs. Raven's been in Phoenix for 2 years now and wants nothing to do with him. The real lesson here. This whole nightmare taught me that some people are just fundamentally selfish and will burn down everything good in their lives for temporary gratification. Tim had it all. Successful business, loving family, amazing fiancé, and he threw it away for his toxic ex who dumped him the minute things got difficult. The worst part is, he still doesn't take responsibility. Even now, sitting in jail, he blames everyone but himself for his situation. He's still the same entitled asshole who thinks the world owes him something. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Don't make excuses. Don't hope they'll change. And don't let loyalty blind you to obvious red flags. Some people will drag you down with them if you let them. But also, surround yourself with people who have your back when shit gets real. Tony and Mac were absolute clutch during the worst parts of this mess. Grace and I built something beautiful from the ashes of Tim's betrayal. Trust me, karma doesn't just collect what it's owed. Sometimes it compounds interest and delivers like a freight train.